Welcome to ChiTeen Lit Fest Let's Get Groovy panel. My name is Lucia Moore.
And my name is Summer Brooks. I'm one of the teams on the team council.
And today we're with two of Chicago's very own artists, Rick Wilson and Tommy Langford of Mach 9. For a bit of background, Mach 9 is an indie rock band. Welcome to ChiTeen Lit Fest Let's Get Groovy panel. My name is Lucia Moore.
And my name is Summer Brooks. I'm one of the teams.
Okay. And today we're with two of Chicago's very own Rick Wilson and Tommy Langford of Mach 9. For a bit of background, Mach 9 is an indie rock band featuring Tommy Langford and Matt Campbell, and Rick Wilson is a rap artist with a funk disco twist. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves and maybe talk about a bit about your accomplishments, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to go first, Tommy, that sounds great.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name's Tommy. I've just turned 19. I've been making music my entire life, and I really started being in a band when I was a freshman in high school, and then COVID hit when I was a senior. So I did not end up going to college. So I've just been pursuing music. I've been back in November, we started really consistently making videos and just content, because we kind of figured we were kind of wondering how we can still kind of be in people's lives when everybody was just indoors. We realized everyone was on their phones. So it's how do we get on their phones? So we really just started making a bunch of internet videos, and we've been able to grow a lot of fans from that, which has just been awesome. And then we're just trying to make a lot of music and trying to release a new single every 2 months.
Hello, what's up, everyone? I'm Rick. Sorry I'm moving around so much. I'm in the middle. I'm actually in England right now. And I've been making music, I don't know, for maybe professionally 3 years, 4 years, 5 years now. And I don't know, not really too good to talk about my accolades or things I've done. I just been making music, and I'm from Chicago, and I grew up in open mics, and one of the open mics happened to be in U Media, Lyricist Loft. And yeah, so here we are now.
It was wonderful hearing from the both of you. You kind of touched on it a little bit already, Tommy, but this question is for the both of you. What have y'all been up to during the pandemic, just in general or music-wise? Just as something nice to start off with.
Yeah, definitely. So I started out lockdown taking online classes, and I really didn't like it. It was really hard to be invested, because I feel I was taking these classes in my bedroom, and I was just a completely different mindset. So when I'm in my bedroom, when I'm in my house, I'm just trying to make music. So there'd be so many times where I'd just be on my laptop, on a Zoom meeting, and then just be playing guitar in the background, or writing songs. So it was a lot of that. Then I graduated. I was done with high school, and then I basically I realized that a lot of people were finding success by basically just making these short form videos. And a lot of people were liking them, because they were just everyone was just spending so much of their time on social media. And I know I personally was as well. I saw about a year ago, I guess, I saw Rick was making those videos with Joe Powers, and I absolutely fell in love with them. I was super inspired. So I started making some stuff like that. And then I just, was just super consistent about it. And consistency is really one of the most important things when you're an independent artist. So I just stuck with it. And then or I guess around December, we got a video that got a bunch of views, and then we got a bunch of people really into us, and that has just been great. And we've just kind of been going from there, trying to release music as consistently as possible.
Yeah, I think for me, lockdown kind of stopped some things. So when lockdown started, I was actually on tour with this duo/band named Drama, and we were in the middle of a tour. We had just finished our first leg of the tour, which is the West Coast, and we had to kind of shut it down. So then folks thought it was just kind of a little break at home, and then it turns out that it wasn't. Got a little longer, so I kind of started getting, a routine of writing every day, driving around, yada, 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 watching shows. And then then the uprising happened. And when the uprising happened, it kind of, oh, sorry guys, it's getting louder, right? when the uprising happened, kind of made folks sit down and really think about, just themselves and the world and how are they changing it while they're navigating. So that happened, and then there was fall came with the election, which is a whole bunch of other madness. And throughout all that, I was trying to still create music and figure out how to continue being a professional musician. And then by around like the end of, or like maybe the beginning of like 2020, or the middle of it or whatever, I figured out I got a vaccine, and I got my vaccine pretty early, and I came out here to England to work on the record. So now I'm here working on the record in England with a friend of mine, and just finished that, and now I'm just like finishing up some other stuff, and just preparing for the world to open back up. That's a really, really broad summary of everything that's been kind of going on in my very, very random life. Yeah.
You both did a wonderful job at answering that. I didn't expect you guys to say that much anyway. I haven't done much during the pandemic, so you guys have done a lot more than I have. I saw that both of you put out music because I love both of you guys. I've seen shows for both of you guys, and when I saw Cloud9 came out for Mach 9, I was thrilled. And then Trunk Music for Rick Wilson, I was thrilled as well because that's the song he played at Pitchfork in 2019. And I loved it, and I was so upset that it hadn't come out yet. And then it finally came out in the middle of the pandemic, and I was like, wow, that's quite impressive, and now we're gonna move on to a little bit more like difficult, like long-ended, even though the last question was pretty long-ended, questions as well, more in-depth things like the one I'm about to ask you. So what from your childhood influenced you to pursue music?
Well, for me, definitely my family. My dad grew up in England, and when he was in college, he joined a band called the Mekons, and then he ended up taking a break from college to tour, and then he came to America on tour, and that's where he met my mom, and then he settled down, and then had me, and so I've really just been around that my whole life, like every week being able to go to one of my dad's concerts and just like seeing how like he could like just entertain a crowd of people, and like how like kind of the things he did just kind of resonated with the audience, and like that was just so inspirational to me. And then but just also being able to see that, and then being able to see like after the show just like all the other stuff, and before the show like them practicing in this basement right here, like just all of the different things, seeing just like I was just fascinated by that entire process. And then I've also just like been singing my whole life, so just like kind of that, like when I remember I was in 8th grade and I met a drummer, and I was like, dang, like I need this in my life. Like I need to start a band too. So like the very first band was just me on an acoustic guitar, and I didn't know any chords, and a drummer who was like wanted to be a metal drummer. So like he would just do crazy fills, and then I wanted to do like kind of some singer-songwriter stuff. And like it was really weird, but it got my foot in the door to this whole like world. So I'm super thankful for it.
Okay, it's my turn. I always wonder, when is it mine? That was super dope, Tommy. I think we're talking about how I got into music, like what in my childhood inspired me to kind of get into music, right? Correct?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Correct.
I think I would have to say definitely would have to be, I grew up in church. So I grew up in a Black church on the South Side called Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church. And that church was pretty well known for its music ministry, and just for kind of like having like some sort of role in the civil rights era. So like both of those things kind of mashed up together and became the thing that kind of influenced me to become like the artist I was. So from there, I grew up in children's choir, and then got older and started writing poetry. Then one day I was like coming home from the Freedom School, which was downtown on 7th and State Street. And I walked past U Media, and I saw all these like people in there, like, some folks on the mic and folks in the audience listening to them. So I decided to walk in and see what was going on. I kind of just stumbled into my first couple open mics, and then just kind of stuck with it. And then at some point decided to stop to stop doing poetry and turn it into raps. And yeah, just kept doing it. You know what I mean? Before that, I went to college for like 2 or a year and a half for cross country because I'm a runner. Then I lost my scholarship. due to like, just me and the coach not getting along, a bunch of stuff. And I came back home and just kind of like tried to really, really take music serious and tried to figure out how to like put my whole self into it and everything I believe in on my politics, and just kind of just kept at it and met people, never really burned too many bridges, just tried to become a better artist consistently. And that's kind of like the thing that helped me the most, I would say.
That's sick. I mean, yeah, you touched upon that for a second, but like we were talking about this like before we went live, just like consistency is just like the most important thing. And like I'm sure even when you were doing open mic, it was just go trying to just try to
Oh, I don't know if that's just me. I think you went out a little bit.
people as possible.
Affecting me growing up and realized that just because some things might sound cliche to me, it might not sound cliche to other people. And your experience is like, and your like narrative is always your narrative. So I always started, the first thing I ever rapped about was like, losing people I love and how I felt about that. Or like, seeing how like, just the world around me was affecting how I was becoming, and like how, having cousins and folks in prison and not like prison and run-ins with police and stuff like that. So I kind of just put all of that into like my music, but I also love to dance. So I tried to like figure out how to configure those like, very heavy subjects and very regular subjects into things that would kind of have like some movement to it. And through that, like it took me not a little longer, but it took me longer than some folks. But because of that, I was able to create like a sound I feel like that was kind of like my own. And from there, I found other folks that wanted to help me recreate that sound and produce that sound out more. And that's kind of the thing that I guess I would say how Chicago like influenced it, Kind of. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah.
No, it totally does, dude. Your sound is very true to you, and definitely like just all of your experiences obviously manifest themselves in that. I mean, yeah, for me, like growing up in Chicago is like really just like that sense of community was just easily the most inspirational thing for me. Like when I was in grade school, my brother is 5 years older than me. And when I was in grade school, my brother was in a band. And I remember he would play these shows where he had this whole scene of bands that would like play together, and like Martyrs like is an independent venue on the north side, and they would always play there. And there's this whole community of bands that like and musicians who met each other through these concerts, and that was all super dope. And then when I was kind of coming of age, and when I was like entering like my freshman sophomore year of high school, I was in my own band. And then now all of those kids who were in that scene kind of were passing the torch. And because then they were all leaving for college, they were all moving out of town. But then me and all of these kids in my generation were kind of just coming into that scene. And we were all like so inspired by all of those other bands, like the Antiques, like Corn on My Dinner Plate, Boys Noise, like there were like the Slaps, Man Wolves, like so many bands. Like I could just like I know all their songs. Like I just like spent so much time listening to them and like being inspired by them. So that like now it's like we're in the position where I have like then we started playing all these shows together, and then like kind of building a new scene of all of these younger kids that found inspiration and found each other through a love for these other bands, which was just so cool. And I also so I did a lot of work with the community organization TACO, which standed for Teen Arts Creative Oasis. So and I was their music and performance director. So basically my job was to like just promote the brand and try and get cool young musicians to want to submit their work so that we could like plan these DIY shows. So like we would have shows where we would have like 15 people all play like 10 to 15 minute sets. So it was my job to just like organize all that and like just kind of network with all these people and just try to build this like larger community. And I think like just that sense of community as a whole was extremely inspirational. Like that's really one of the things that really made me want to keep pursuing this as like an actual career.
And that's one of my favorite parts about Chicago as well. And just organizations that promote, teens expressing themselves like Media and Taco. There's so much opportunity, and you can get started so young. It just really helps you to thrive in such an environment. So
Definitely.
I'm glad you guys both have such Chicago pride and everything. And we talk about taco a lot actually when creating the ChiTeen Lit Fest this year. Lots of people mentioned it. Lots of people mentioned you, Tommy, and they were like, we should get Tommy to come. We should have Taco do things and everything. It was like really exciting. And I was like, I know Mach 9. We should have Mach 9. And then since then, we've had you guys perform and now we're interviewing you. And now it's obvious that you guys are both really young. You're both young artists. And specifically as young artists, what are some of the challenges you've faced in the music industry so far?
Well, I'm a bit younger than you. Do you want to take this one first?
Yeah. I definitely would say some challenges I've faced are trying to like resources. So just trying to find resources for like music videos, for engineers, just for everything. But luckily I engineered myself, but like I had to learn how to do that because I couldn't find anyone that would want to do that. In Chicago specifically, I struggle finding like producers. I luckily found like one producer that really like rocked with my sound and think I was trying to do and believed in it. And that really worked out for both of us. But before then it was kind of hard. But yeah, I think that was kind of, I think most of the things, like finding resources. People like, sometimes in Chicago, like creatives struggle with sharing resources with other folks. And I think that might be our like biggest downfall in Chicago. But other than that though, everything else has been kind of cool. I think another like difficulty is getting out of Chicago, like getting shows out of Chicago, which was really, really hard. Cause luckily there's email, but like, at some point the email went like dry and like nothing was coming up until I got a booking agent, and then they were able to like pick up all the work that I had done and like bounce off of that. And that was like a really big thing that really helped a lot of stuff in my career, in my life. But yeah, I definitely would say getting out of Chicago, getting shows out of Chicago, figuring out how to like, get into the scene that's like a little bit above underground, but like into like, I guess like for instance, like it was really hard for me to get my first festival gig. Like in order for me to get my first festival gig, I had to win a battle of the bands, and then I had to like pay out of my pocket to even get a band to even play with me, So like I had to really work really hard to like break the mode to get into certain like communities and circles due to just the restriction of like resources and the restriction of like, folks just kind of keeping the same small circle. So that kind of sucks. So I hope, and I've been trying to like shift that and not make that a thing anymore. But yeah, I would say that's probably definitely one of my biggest difficulties. How about you? I'm gonna go mute again because it's loud here.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said was totally accurate. Like we were pre-COVID, we were trying to plan a tour of the Midwest, and that was extremely difficult because I was basically just the booking agent. And I was just sending cold emails to like a bunch of venue owners like all over the Midwest. But yeah, I'd say as struggles, like yeah, you said you engineer for yourself. Like I had been doing that as well. Like that, it's been really great to just like learn how to do that, because also like then once you're in the position where you can have an engineer doing that for you, you can kind of articulate your vision to them, which is just huge. But if we're talking about like, yeah, struggles, definitely, yeah, what he said about just meeting people, I think is difficult, because it's like even just like kind of the 2 or 3 year difference. Like if I'm trying to like meet and work with someone who's like a couple years older than me, like they might think like, oh, well, I don't want to work with this 19-year-old. And like, I guess I could see the same thing where like if a 16-year-old would want to work with me, I could like kind of foresee being that kind of same thing, So I'd say like that's definitely a really hard thing, as well as just credibility, because like no one really wants to like invest in a really young artist who doesn't have a track record at all. So that was a really hard thing. Like yeah, Rick talked about playing his first festival, but it's even playing your first concert. Like I was really blessed where, since I was kind of talking about earlier, where with that venue Martyrs, where my brother had played there a bunch, like we had a really good connection with the owners there, so that's where we were able to play our first show. But a lot of people like don't even know how to get into that world, and like I remember that was just such a daunting thing. Like, how am I going to play my first show? Like, am I ready? Like, I don't even know anybody. Like that was really scary. So like even like, yeah, having those community resources like Taco, like when I was planning that, like the only like a vast majority of those people it was their first time performing like on a stage in front of anybody. So like, yeah, even what Rick was talking about, like with those open mics, like that was just such a great platform. And I'm sure that exposed him to a bunch of people that like he's had great connections with. But yeah, I definitely say like, it's really hard to like kind of work with people because I feel like you're not taken as seriously if you're younger. Like even like in the scope of being young, like if I'm trying to like work with like a 25-year-old engineer, like even they could see like, oh, this kid's not even in college yet, like you know, it's like that's definitely a thing that I have found.
So thank you both for those responses. This question and the last one kind of go hand in hand. I know you guys both touched on just respecting young artists. Sorry for the background noise in general, but what is something you'd like to see change in the music industry, like all across the board? Just a problem you have or something you'd like to advocate for?
Hey, I think I think it's a couple of things I like to see change. I think I would love to see like booking agents kind of like actually go look for new talent and not wait for new talent to do all the work and then they just kind of just pop up and like just book them for things. Like I think there's like a whole bunch of like, you know, young talent out there. And if they just went and just paid attention to these like, you know, shows that are like, you know, 100, 500 person cap in these small towns and just go watch them and literally go searching for them, then like that can be dope. But like a lot of times it's really hard. I didn't get my first booking agent until I did my first like EP deal with a small label. And I had to go to LA to find that. So I think that was kind of whack. So I wish they would do that. And then on top of that, and then it's crazy because there was a bunch of like agents in Chicago that knew who I was and never wanted to sign me. So that sucked, but it is what it is. I think that could change. I think Spotify should have direct emails or direct contact with the folks who are running the editorial Spotify playlist and not just only give that contact to like industry circle people and label folks. Cause I feel like they're like the gatekeepers to like how a lot of people are finding new music. And I think if I wasn't lucky enough to just have my name put into like people's ears in that circle, that would have hindered a lot of things that I have going on with me. Let's see. I think that Chicago has a lot of creatives, but I think it'd be dope if there were like more managers, more like labels, actual labels that weren't trying to like hold resources, but actually share resources for like young creatives in Chicago. I think that it'd be dope if there were like booking agent, if there was like more booking agency offices in Chicago, they were actually hiring people in Chicago. Shoot, it's a lot. I feel like it'd be dope. I think it'd be dope if like talent bookers and like talent buyers and like smaller venues or like just like regular venues in Chicago paid attention to like, you know, folks that are doing their own thing and who's popping and what's going on and start booking them to open up for like acts that are coming into town as like things that open it up, because that really helped me. And if I would have never became friends with like the talent buyers at like Lincoln Hall and Shuba's, then like I don't even know what I would have done. You know, they really helped open up the door for me and like gave me my first headline show for me to like sell out. So yeah, I just think that the industry and the creative world in Chicago needs to like intertwine more, and it needs to be like less, you know, disconnected. You know what I mean? Like I'm tired of going to Pitchfork and seeing the same people in the VIP section every single year. You know, like I just think that people need to start opening up doors and gates for folks, and that's why I do things. That's why when I did the Pitchfork and I brought all the Lane students and stuff like that, like I just think there needs to be more things like that. You know what I mean? That are bridging the gap between, you know, the industry world and like the actual community, young creative community in Chicago.
I
Totally behind me.
I totally agree with everything you just said, like 100%. Well, I mean, you talked about bridging the gap between the music industry and the community of Chicago, but I still even think that to some extent the community of Chicago still needs a lot of bridging, because like I'm sure you know, like you grew up on the South Side, I grew up on the North Side. Your experience, like we just talked about this, like your experience was writing about people going to prison that you loved, and my experience was having a strong sense of community. Those are extremely different experiences. And I feel like one of the main problems we had with Taco was it was like a thing. It was a bunch of people from the North Side. We had such a hard time trying to find people from the South Side. It was like, I didn't even know the first step. Like I wasn't just gonna go walk around those streets just like trying to find people. I didn't know the first thing to do to try and start getting people like involved in this organization. And like obviously it was such an important thing. And like Chicago's one of the most segregated cities like ever. And it's just like we're talking about wanting to build this community, and I feel like that's really one of the most important things. But that's one thing about Chicago's. But talking about like the industry, what you said about the editorial playlist is so true. We haven't gotten our first editorial yet. We're still waiting for that. Like everyone that I've talked to has basically just said like their advice, like sure, like Spotify for Artists has that tool where you can like pitch to the playlist, but like I don't really know if that does much. Like all the advice we've ended up getting has just been like get a good manager who can like get you in the door with those people, because it really is like all about who you know. Another thing we were talking about, yeah, when you said like just payment in general, like Spotify does the amount, like how little a stream is like kind of nuts. And a lot of people are saying this like fight for 1 cent per stream. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I think that there's a really good way to do it. Like SoundCloud is moving towards this new way, and I think it makes a lot of sense where you pay them $10 a month for like their premium thing, and then whichever artists you listen to, it divides up percentage wise. Like let's say I only listen to Mach 9 and Rick Wilson like evenly. So instead of me just getting paid for the streams, I'm actually getting paid like the direct amount. The $10 is going to Spotify. They're taking their cut, but then Spotify's taking that money and then paying it directly to the artist that person was listening to. So instead of me getting 0. Like instead of me getting like 2 cents, let's say 2 cents if the person listens to me like a couple hundred times, right? Instead of me doing that, if they exclusively listen to Rick and I, then we'll each get like $4, because then it'll be like, and that would completely change the game, and Spotify wouldn't have to change their subscription at all. What it would do, it would like mess up those like huge artists that are getting like thousands and thousands of dollars a day from Spotify streams, while these independent artists who are like hustling so hard are like not even able to pay their rent. And like I think that is a huge thing that like needs to be talked about more.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up around creatives as well, and the fact that so many creative people don't get enough money to survive on their own it's really sad. And I want to see people like you two like have really full lives, but because places like Spotify won't give you enough money to do that, it becomes really difficult, obviously. And about Taco and you trying to integrate Southside kids and Northside kids and everything, that's a huge step, and it's important that you did that. And it's something that other places don't even try to do. They don't even try to incorporate everybody. So it's important that you did. And about Rick Wilson performing with the Lane Tech Marching Band, that performance, I filmed it for a lot of people. I showed it to tons and tons of people, and I had like people in tears. They were so happy. They were like, he incorporated children. Like, that's so cool. My mom was in tears. She was so happy about that. She was like, this man, my new favorite artist in the world. She still listens to you all the time. It's her favorite summer song is No Hands. It's just, it's amazing that you guys put forth the effort though to make this change. Even if you see this change and you put the effort forward to try and make it better, I guess. And to move on, what part of your career do you value the most, and what experiences have you valued the most? Oh, that's pretty similar. What experiences have you valued the most as you've become bigger and bigger?
I think this is something that I'm like just beginning to realize, I guess, if that makes sense. Like obviously like when I first started making music, it was all about the music, and then like I started like just being an independent artist. Like you have to do literally everything. Like you have to be your PR team, your booking agent, you have to be your sound engineer, you have to be your distributor, you got to be everything. And I think just being able to like really take a step back and just focus on the music is just so important. And like obviously everyone that has a job in the music industry is there because they're passionate about music, even though that's sometimes forgotten about. But I'd say the biggest thing for me is when I hear a song in my head and it's stuck in my head and I can't get it out of my head. I listen to this song, I'm like, this isn't a song yet, but I want to listen to it. And the only way for me to listen to this song is for me to make the song. So then by me going through this entire process of producing, arranging, mixing, mastering, like creating a music video, all of that. So that when there's that final product and you get to hear that final song that you've been thinking about for months, there's no feeling like it. And like, I'm just so, so grateful that that's something that I get to experience. And then that's also something I get to share with people. What about you, Rick?
Yeah.
Hey, sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. I would have to say, I would have to say that I would definitely have to say my favorite like experience for like making music or doing music or whatnot is I think the experience I value is like touring. I've like got really into touring and like the live like performance aspect of it, and like really just how like that live performance can like change and capture someone, and you don't really know how or how that can like, you know, what that means. But recently, since I've been here like in England, I've been writing about 2 verses or 3 verses a day, and I've been really like falling back in love with the writing aspect of it and being a better like, you know, writer and like poet and whatever that means, you know. And I've been falling more into that particularly. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And for this next question, Tommy, you kind of mentioned making your vision become something real and enjoying that. But what else motivates you all to continue your musical career?
Definitely like now that I'm in this position where people actually want to hear the music from me, like that is just nuts. Like every couple of days, I kind of have this I think about it again, and every single time I think about it, it just feels like the first time where I'm like, oh my God, there are like people out there who really appreciate the art that I make and like get genuine joy from listening to the work that I produce. And I don't think there's anything more inspirational than that. Just the fact that I know that there are people out there, the people are always listening to music. Like they're always listening to the songs and they're always getting joy from it. Like even when I'm doing other things, like even when I'm at the gym, even when I'm like going for a run, even when I'm writing new music, like whatever I'm doing, hanging out with friends, there's still somebody in the world listening to my song and that's making them happy. And like that is just like whenever I'm feeling down about myself, like that is one thing that like really helps lift me back up. And like every time I think about it, it feels like the first time. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is nuts. So I'd say that's probably one of the biggest ones for me.
You said the thing that's kind of motivating us to keep doing music, like more, right?
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's I don't know. Through the pandemic, I kind of lost it a little bit, and I think how I found it back here when I came to England. And I think it's just about creating it and like just like being in a room with people and making music. I took that for granted so much when I was busy all the time, and forgot what that felt like. And I think, you know, just being here and being in a room with different musicians and doing like, and working on like live stuff, like live album stuff and stuff like that. I think that is what really is like what's been driving me. And then also like, you know, I just had to just getting out and being in a different location, writing a different location, writing in locations that sometimes are like, you know, different than what you're used to and maybe a little bit uncomfortable. But like great things come out of like, you know, like those situations sometimes. Like, you know, like I just came out here and I didn't really know anyone. And I just kind of just like fell into things from one person to another person to another person. So I think that's what's been inspiring me a whole lot to write. And I think sometimes like in Chicago, but that definitely the US, we think that like that's the whole world and it's not so at all. So yeah, that's what's been going on with me.
It's nice to be satisfied, you know, with your work. I know, Tommy, you were talking about just knowing that other people are enjoying something that you worked so hard on. And Rick, you're talking about, just getting back into enjoying doing what you do. And that's something so great about your careers, just being able to truly be satisfied with something that you've poured your heart into. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, I bet being in England right now is wonderful. Despite like the pandemic and everything, like I wish I was in England or Europe in general, anywhere except Chicago. I wish I was there. And you guys both have loyal fan bases, and that is so lucky that you have that. Like I see the Mach 9 meme pages pop up on Instagram sometimes, and I'm like, should I follow? And then I follow. And I was like,
You should. You should. It makes them very happy.
yeah.
Whenever I get DMs from them like, we're about to hit 100 followers. Thank you for sharing our posts. And I'm like, thank you guys for making them. Like, this is nuts.
It's so cool because like you guys are just a little Chicago band and everything, and like you have fans in like Europe, and I see that on your page sometimes. I'm like, wow, that like same with you, Rick. Like you have young fans, you have old fans. Like I saw people who were like pushing 60 at your Pitchfork show, and I was like, wow, you're here. You're a part of this soul train right now. It was so impressive. And like you guys both are so lucky to have that. Like I wish I had a fan base. Even though I'm not a musician, I wish I had a fan base like you two. So to move on, what messages do you hope to convey with the music that you create? Like it could be one message, two messages, it could just be like an overarching thing. You're like, I want to make cool music for people. That's a valuable answer.
I can go first. I'd say I'm not sure, like, I think as like an overarching message for our entire brand, I think independence is all of it. Because like it's been Mac and I, and we've just been putting in the work. We've been learning what work is needed to be done and then doing that. And like that's huge. Like, because I know that there's so many artists that like have the time to do the work, but they just don't know the first thing of what to do. So like spending time like watching YouTube videos, like a lot of like music marketing videos, like figuring out like what marketing trends are coming up, like how can we be doing this, like all of that, like just, and then also just like not taking the first opportunity to just sign to a label. Like we were like Rick and I were talking about this before we went live, but like I'm not going to sign to a label until I have a label that is begging me to sign to them, because then I know that that is a label that's going to fight for me. And that's a label that's going to put their reputation on the line because they trust my vision. I don't want to sign to the first label that looks at me in a good way, because they'll just think that I can make them money. And then I'll just have a label just like that'll shelf me if one of my songs doesn't do as well or something like that. But if I have a label that really wants me to work with them and really wants to help me out, then that's going to be the best thing. So my goal is just to try and like just stay independent for as long as possible, to just prove to not only myself but also the world that like I can do this, and like I have something that then like hopefully that'll introduce me to the right people that like also believe in this vision. Like Rick was talking about that earlier, like he found the right producer that found his sound. And like, I'm sure before that it was really hard, but you made do because you're awesome. Like, so I guess like I'm just kind of in that boat right now, just waiting. But yeah, what about you?
Ooh, I would say, what exactly was the question again? You were talking about. Go again.
It was like, what message do you want to convey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I got lost in it. I got lost in Tommy's answer. I was like, wait a minute, yeah. I don't know. I just want to like, I think I just want to like convey the message that you can do like music that you can two-step to, that can also just be good musically and good lyrically, and you know what I mean. But understanding that like you're two-stepping in a world that is like in flames, and what does that mean to you? That's literally it.
Thank you. Okay. What is something about your music or you individually as a musician that you consider to be unique?
Um, huh. I I guess I would just say like obviously I'm not about to sit here and say that I'm the first artist that's ever written in multiple genres because that's ridiculous. But I do think that like we really don't want to just be like we don't want to be boxed in by a genre. Like that sounds like the worst possible thing. Like I would not want to be trapped like that. Like we started back in November, we started making these little videos online where we would do like how to blank music genre in 15 seconds. So we would just like listen to a bunch of songs from a music genre and then write down like, oh, okay, so like most of these bass lines are like really driving, like most of these like drum grooves are like just figure out like what sonically and instrumentally and songwriting wise made that genre sound the way it did. And we spent many months just trying to do as many of them as we could. We were at one point we were dropping one of those videos a day. Sometimes they were completely wrong. Like I'm not gonna like sometimes they were just not right. But the point was that we were still trying our very best to learn. Um, and then through that, that helped our own creative process so much because then we could be like, okay, well, I really like how this part of psychedelic music kind of how can we take that and combine it with like another genre and then just like a hard rock or something and then like how can we fuse this together and like make something new. And it's like our past two songs were exactly that. We dropped a very like modern psychedelic song and then we dropped like a more of like a hard rock song. And then now like moving forward we're just trying to just figure out how we can just take from all of these different things and combine them together to like make something that's like hasn't been done before.
Hey, yeah, I think genre blending, I like that. I would have to say, uh, I don't know. I would say I'm genre blending. Maybe I am. I don't know. Sometimes you never really notice until you're like,
Yeah,
to someone
very
else says you're doing it. You know what I
very
mean?
yeah. You're just making it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you
Yeah,
just kind of just like making it, and then someone tells you this sounds like this sounds like this sounds like this, and you're just like, oh dang, I guess it does sound like that. You know?
that's
Uh,
definitely how it starts. Yeah.
so I guess that's probably kind of where I would like sit. You know what I mean? Around that and like that thought. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I hear it. Like, I don't think I know one person who only likes one genre of music, and so that's something I always look for in an artist. Like, okay, are they very one-sided? You know, and it just makes it more interesting to pull from different places, you know. And then because, like you said, you don't really notice it until you maybe listen to it a few times, and you're like, wait a second, this is kind of like, you know, this is a little bit of that, and this is a little bit of this. So
Mm-hmm. No, definitely, yeah. And you never, yeah, exactly. That's how it usually always goes. So
I'm also gonna say that you guys present yourself in really unique ways to society. Like the way the way that you guys get your message out there and like publicity, I guess. I don't know. Like Rick, you had your tweet on a billboard last year, if I remember correctly, about Black trans women, and that was awesome. That's like a perfect way to get your message out there and everywhere and everything.
oh
And
yeah, but you know that was Twitter. Twitter like found the tweet and just asked me to use it. I didn't even know how it was all out of my hands. You know what I mean? But yeah,
That's
but yeah.
it's what you said. It's the way you use your platform to like say such like profound things, and that Twitter
Mm-hmm.
wanted to use that as just like that's really big, and it was really cool to see that and everything. And with Mach 9, Okay, this is something I had wanted to mention this entire interview, and everybody knows that I really wanted to talk about this, but I really want to hear about the brick and the hammer. I want, I want to hear about it so bad because that is such like a unique piece of like what's it called? I can't remember merchandise.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so the story behind that is we were extremely broke. We still are extremely broke. We're independent musicians. It doesn't pay well in the beginning. And we were dropping like t-shirts and stuff, like whatever, like people were buying t-shirts, and I was like, damn, but what's something that like no one's selling? And then I look outside and I see just a pile of bricks, and I'm like, what if we just put our name on a brick? Like Supreme did it. Everybody thought Supreme was so cool. What if we do it? Maybe they'll think we're cool too. So then we sold bricks for $9 because Mach 9. It was a brick. Later on, we realized, so I listed them as $9 with $5 shipping. That was a mistake. That was a horrible mistake. It costs like $40 to ship a brick, like even just to somewhere in America. Someone like in Europe bought a brick and they paid like maybe $10 for shipping, and we had to end up paying like $60 for it just to ship it to them. So we were like, oh God, what's something that's kind of in the same realm, but is not as heavy as a brick? So then we found the Mach 9 hammer, and we just bought some hammers. We drew our name on them with a Sharpie, and then we also just drew a little face on it. So it was like, hey, this can also be like a friend hammer. Like we called them Mr. Hammerhead. So if you wanted one, you could purchase one. We sold out of hammers, which I never thought I'd expect to say, but there was a point in time where all of our income, aside from music streaming, was purely from hammer sales. So I was like, damn, I guess I'm just like a glorified like hardware salesman at this point. But yeah, I don't think we're gonna restock the hammers for a while, unless there's like a huge demand.
Well, just know that I demand a hammer. I nearly bought a brick a couple weeks ago, but I was like, I don't know how they're gonna get the brick to me, so I'm actually not gonna trust them to send the brick to me. But as we were talking about earlier with fan bases and everything, how were you able to expand your fan base so much since starting in music?
Back in the very start, it was just a lot of live shows, like back like pre-COVID, like what I was talking about, like just exposing myself to this community of bands, and then just networking with people, because then everybody there, all of the people that were just going to the concerts were fans of those bands purely because they were around, and that was just awesome. Like that was so great because it was just this huge community. You had the musicians, and then you had the people that supported the musicians, and that was so crazy. And then when live shows went away, we were kind of distraught. We were like, oh my God, like what do we do? Because it wasn't like any of the like we had people coming to our shows, but that didn't mean that those people necessarily like followed us on social media. And social media was all we had. So we started out by doing these live streams where we would just like play music in our basement, and they didn't sound very good. I think everybody remembers how rocky of a start like the very beginning pandemic was, like just trying to figure out like how are we going to do things. So we did that for a little bit, then we quickly stopped. And then I mentioned this at the very beginning. One of my first concert I ever played was with Joe Powers, and so me and him like know each other, and I saw that Rick and Joe collaborated on a couple videos, and then that's how I was exposed to Rick. So then I saw those videos that Joe was making, and I was just like, oh my God, like this is genius. Like you can still give that feeling, but it doesn't sound bad. And you can like edit the videos and make them like look cool, and you can collaborate with people. And Joe still had very much that sense of community where he was able to collaborate with a bunch of people and put them all together. And I thought that was completely genius. So I took a lot of inspiration from that, and then we started making videos, and then that's how we kind of led to those like 15-second genre videos, and then just kind of kept going from there.
For me, I had to figure out, hey, what's up, guys? For me, I had to figure out how to use social media as a tool to gain more followers, because like it was like, you know, it was like at the time, it was like what, maybe 2016, 17, and social media, Instagram and everything. Instagram was kind of growing still. So I had to figure out how to use that to like translate into like the real world and real life, which was like really hard and weird. But another thing was like also just opening up for other people. Open up for other people, you know, really helped a whole lot, honestly. Or like I would have to, I was the rapper that like went into people's DMs and asked them, can you share this link? Can you retweet this? Can you retweet this? Can you retweet this? I used to do this thing. It was like, I'm gonna drop this song if I get 300 retweets or shit like that. I mean, stuff like that. So like, I would do things like that to just kind of like just use that as a toolkit to just help reach more people and help the people around me that wanted to see me reach more people, help me reach more people. You know what I mean? And that was kind of like really the number one thing that I did to kind of really help me find a fan base. Then I did like a promoted Instagram ad, and like that was like some of those kind of work, but not really. You know what I mean? So it's kind of that. I think the thing that's been helping me a lot more was like the big turning point was getting a publicist. That helped me like gain a lot more like just ears, I would say. But yeah. But also, I might have a question for maybe one more question because my phone's on 10% and I'm in the middle of Newcastle and my phone's dying.
Okay, that's perfect. We're actually on the last question. We only have a few minutes left.
Cool, perfect.
The next question is, what do you guys hope to see for yourselves as artists in the future?
What was that now? I'm sorry.
What do you guys hope to see for yourselves as artists in the future?
I would say I go first, I guess. I think I would have to say what I hope to see for myself as an artist in the future is just to keep being an artist. You know, really literally. I think I feel super free right now at this moment in life and time, and this world that is not super free for people that look like me. And I think just being an artist, continuing to be an artist, being able to like, you know, have a life where I make money off of it and, you know, can feed myself and like and clothe myself and house myself. This is where I just want to see myself, you know what I mean, in a couple of years. But as an artist, I definitely would like to maybe, you know, just get better. Just want to keep getting better. I'm not too worried about getting bigger. I just want to get better. When we get better at singing, I want to get better at writing, I want to get better at like, you know, rapping and performing, maybe take some dance classes, you know, just want to keep getting better at everything art-wise. That's the goal. Everything else will just fold into what it's supposed to be if you just keep on continuing and focusing on getting better and not focus on getting bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very good advice. I've also been thinking about taking dance classes. Like we just recently started practicing with our live band again because like shows are just starting to come back. And just that feeling, like obviously it's way different practicing in a basement than actually being on a stage, but like you still get some of that feeling of like that raw energy, just being able to like jump up and down, and like there's no feeling like that. Like it's so much fun. So yeah, I really like, I can't wait to be the best performer I can be. I think like there's a lot of times where like just being an independent artist, like I'm so focused on every other part, like you said, trying to get bigger, because when you're independent, you have to do everything. You have to be your publicist. You have to be your marketing agency.
Yeah.
So like, it is my job to think about that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like, I need to be the best performer I can be. Because in the long term, like once I am signed and once I have people thinking about it, my job is to write and perform. And that's what I need to be good at. And like, it's a constant struggle, because it's like, well, right now I also need to be good at all this other stuff, because if I can't successfully get big, then I won't be able to have a team to help me out. So like there's a lot, like it's a constant struggle with that, but I completely agree with everything Rick said there.
Thank you so much for that. Oh, sorry, Rick, did you have a comment?
Oh no, I was just gonna say that I'm on like 2%. I gotta go find a charger. I love you guys so much, and thank you so much for having me. But I'm about to be stranded and I gotta find a
Nice to meet you,
charger.
dude.
We enjoyed you. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Thanks for this super duper dope, Tommy. I hope to see you when I'm in Chicago. I'll be back. Hopefully I see you in that VIP section at some point in Pitchfork, and we'll hang out and we'll toast. You guys have a great night, day.
Have a
Bye.
good one.
Bye.
We want to thank everybody so much for coming. It's been a pleasure interviewing you guys today. And I just want to remind everyone that this is the last day of the fest. So if you would like to go sign up for the open mic, please do that, and you can present and show all of your poetry or writing. And I want to thank you, Tommy, for coming. For yourself and on behalf of Mach 9, we really enjoyed your responses. So thank you.
Of course. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.